Hi everyone and welcome to this video presentation of Swedish Exergy, our superheated steam drying technology, its benefits and also its applications. My name is Christopher Glavender and I will take you through today's presentation. So first a quick backstory on us. Who are we and what do we do? Well, we are a Swedish company based here in Gothenburg on the west coast of Sweden. And it all started with our founder, Claes Munter, who invented the superheated steam dryer in the 70s at Chalmers Technical University here in Gothenburg. In the late 70s, he refined his invention and also commercialized it. And in 1979, we delivered our first superheated steam dryer, which in fact, even today, 40 years later, is still operable. We are a global company with subsidiaries and sales reps all over, and we have delivered projects worldwide. Other than our superheated steam dryers, we also deliver airstream dryers, flue gas dryers, evaporators, and rotary valves. And there's no other company out there that has the experience and know-how than the inventors of the superheated steam drying technology, which in fact is us, Swedish Exergy. So how does the dryer work? Well, first off, I just want to clear something out. The dryer is a superheated steam dryer, but you don't need steam. You don't have to have steam available to run the dryer. The steam is only a drying medium within the dryer. You can heat up the dryer with thermal oil, flue gases, natural gas, and of course regular steam as well. But in front of you, you have a simple illustration of one of our dryers. And in the right-hand corner, you have a rotary valve, which is labeled number 11. This is where the wet product gets fed into the dryer and meets the superheated steam. Superheated steam then carries and dries the product at the same time through the drying ducts up to number 1, which is our cyclone. And it takes about 10 to 15 seconds for the superheated steam to both dry and carry the product to the cyclone. In the cyclone, the dry product then gets separated from the steam and falls down to the bottom and gets discharged through another rotary valve. In this illustration, we have a flash chamber, which is number 7, but it all varies depending on the application and feed and such. The separated steam then recirculates down to number 4, where we have a bleed-off valve. We really want to try to maintain a constant pressure within our dryers. And since we're generating steam all the time when we dry the wet product, we have an excess of steam which will bleed off at number 4. And here's where we get our energy recovery by using this steam that we're generating and bleeding off. But I will talk a little bit more about this later. The steam that doesn't get bled off then goes through our superheater at number 5, where it gets indirectly heated by either thermal oil, flue gases, natural gases, steam, etc. It then goes through our steam fan at number 10, and there again it meets the wet product and the drying cycle is completed. So, what are some of the applications for using our superheated steam dryers? Well, in this presentation, we're mainly going to focus on our animal feed side of the business. But we think it could be good for you to know other areas or other fields we also operate and have an extensive experience within. But the typical applications where it would be beneficial to dry with our superheated steam dryer would be animal feeds, human feed, biomass such as hardwood pellets, waste to energy, sludge, municipal and industrial sludge, and paper and pulp applications. So for animal feed applications, what we normally have focused on in the last couple of years is wet distillers grains to be able to make a high value animal feed in the form of DDGS, or dry distillers grains and solubles. Also citrus peels from used factories, sugar beet pulp, olive sludge, bagasse, corn, different types of grains, and cotton seeds. And we're constantly trying to evaluate new types of applications where we can create animal feed. So, what's some of the benefits of drying animal feed with our superheated steam dryer? Well, when the product gets dried in our superheated steam dryer, the protein's molecule structure changes to a water-soluble open protein compared to the global structure. The protein is not denatured during this process either, and this creates a so-called protected protein that bypasses the rumen without being degraded, hence the word bypass protein. And this allows the full digestion in the small intestine of the animal instead. The amount of bypass protein that bypasses the rumen will increase by about 50% to be used in the intestine for improved milk production and also meat production. And all of this without adding any chemicals at all. We also see the amazing results from the gelatinization of starch in ingredients for feed mix. All grains show much higher gelatinization levels after being treated in our dryers compared to micronization. Also, soybeans has been treated in order to reduce the trypsin inhibitor with very good results without reducing the lysine content. Many feed compounders are using extruders, micronization, or steam batch cookers to treat grains of different raw materials to increase the gelatinization of the starch as to obtain a more digestible grain for the animal. All grains, including whole corn kernels, show much higher gelatinization levels after being treated in our superheated steam dryer than, for instance, with micronization. Our solution works as a continuous process where the protein containing the animal feedstock, like oil cakes, distillers, dark grain, and solubles, mill grains, are all exposed to the superheated steam in our dryer under a short period of time to achieve all of these above advantages. This technology is both proven and it's commercial today. So basically we're able to achieve bypass protein without any chemicals at all, maintain the intestine digestibility, we get an increased milk and meat production, we remove all of the anti-nutritional factors, we get an improved palatability, we get an animal feed that's 100% sterilized, we get very high levels of generation of the starch, but also all of this equals to a increased market value. And here we can see a chart on the increase in milk production that I was talking about in the previous slide. This was a study conducted by the Swedish University of Agriculture, where they compared the milk production of cows that was fed regular feed and feed that was treated in our superheated steam dryers. And as you can see by yourself, the results are truly impressive. Here's another study where they compare rapeseed and rape meal and soybeans and soya meal, also done by the Swedish University of Agriculture. I'm not going to go into depth on this one, but if you like, you can pause the video and look at it for yourself. And then we have DDGS, or dried distillers grains and solubles. It's basically the bottom stillage from fermentation is a very protein-rich sludge, which contains about 75 to 80% water. Once the sludge gets dried, it's called DDGS, and it's an excellent animal feed. Once dried with the superheated steam dryers from Swedish Exergy, the value of the DDGS is further enhanced by the increasing protein uptake of the animal because we're creating the bypass protein, while at the same time reducing the energy consumption of the drying considerably. Final product is at around 10% moisture. Some of the benefits that you will receive is a 100% sterilized and oxidation-free product. You will get an increase in bypass protein, like we talked about. Also an increase of gelatinization of the starch. You will get a reduction or a removal of the anti-nutritional factors. You will get an improved taste, an increased milk and meat production, a healthier animals, and all of these combines to a higher market value. And I would also like to touch on the subject of oilseeds and drying or treating oilseeds within our superheated steam dryers. The oil yield will increase by about 1% if you treat it in our superheated steam dryer, and it's also much easier to refine compared to standard oil. The direct neutralization with alkali following washing reduces the phosphorus content to about 6 to 7 parts per million. This means that the acid or enzymic degumming is not needed at all. And we've done sensory evaluations to show that there's no difference between the processed oil in our dryer compared to the standard oil. The light consumption is also greatly reduced by about 1 to 1.5 kilograms per ton of oil. And since there's no need for phosphoric acid, the consumption of that also goes down considerably. So you will get an improved oil yield and quality. You will get an improved protein value in the cattle feed by creating bypass protein. You will get an excellent quality after water degumming. It will be much easier to refine. You will need no chemicals for the refining. And again, it will be 100% sterilized. What are some of the other benefits that you will get by using our Exergy pressurized superheated steam dryer, or the Exergy PSSD, other than the benefits by drying animal feed that we just talked about? Well, we are incredibly energy efficient, and we can recover up to 95% of the primary energy consumption by using the generated steam from the wet product at about 2 to 3 bars of pressure. And this is what I talked about, where we bleed off some of the excess steam all the time when we looked at how the dryer actually works. This steam can then be used within your process, or it can be used as process heating. It can be used directly, or it can be used after a reboiling to generate clean steam. It can also be recompressed by a mechanical vapor recompression, and then you can actually use the steam to heat up the dryer itself after the MBR. The excess steam can also be used to produce electricity in a condensing turbine if you so choose to do so. We also have basically no emissions, or low to no emissions, VOCs or odors. So there's no need for an RTO or a wet ESP. Like I've touched on before, we have a very short residence time of about only 10 to 15 seconds with a incredibly uniform drying. We have quick and easy control over the drying process. We build on height rather than on width, so we don't take up that much land. Few rotating parts means a lower running and maintenance costs. Up to 99.9% dryness can be achieved. We have a long life cycle. Like I talked about in the beginning, our first dryer that was installed in 1979 is still operable today. And we have a fast return on investment. All the product that gets put into the dryer always gets 100% sterilized and non-oxidized. And one of the main things also is that there's no risk at all for either fires or explosions within our dryers. And that's simply because there's no oxygen present at all within our dryers. So all the need for fire prevention systems or spark detectors is not needed. Neither is the need for an ATEX classifications. And all of this all combines to a much lower insurance cost for the client or for you. So that's all for me today. I hope that you were able to stick with me the whole time. But if you do have any questions that you would like to have cleared up before the virtual meetings next week, you can always send me an email or call me directly. I'm available anytime. And yeah, again, thank you so much for listening to me and have a